Failure is good for the gaze, okay? Why we might think about failure as something queer, as something to embrace, and even possibly a way of life. And Chris, if you give me the first slide, we'll begin to unpack that a little bit. So here's a great quote from Quentin Crisp, who you all know, the naked civil servant, fabulous drag queen extraordinaire, queen around town he was. If at first you don't succeed, failure may be your style, okay? So usually it's that Protestant work ethic. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again, okay? Which always seems really grim to me as a motto. And when I was reading Quentin Crisp and I came across this, I thought, well, this is sort of capturing something about that connection between queerness and failure that the book is trying hard to articulate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to work through with you some ideas about failure, some of which are quite theoretical, some of which are drawn from popular culture, and I'll always try to give a really easy example so that we can work on the idea and then we can go to an example to see how it plays out. Now in the book, which I just finished, it's not out, it's coming out next year from Duke University Press, and I've had all kinds of problems with the title, but I think I'm going to go with The Queer Art of Failure. I use all kinds of different kinds of cultural productions to talk about failure. Everything from children's animation, which is chock-a-block with failure. Why? Because children are not people who are success-oriented. And parents try not to only tell their kids to succeed. The idea is that if you're a kid, you're going to fail, you're going to stumble, you're going to make mistakes, you're clumsy, you're awkward, you're not yet trained to be a proper human being, and therefore you reside in the realm of failure. And any little cartoon film that you'll go and see is about this entire experience of failure. And so one of the big archives of the book is children's animation. But I try to range from low to high culture, and I also try to work with queer artists, particularly lesbian artists, and I'm going to speak about one particular artist tonight. And I'll get to that in a moment. Now, if you think about what we mean by success in this society, we mean some combination of acquiring wealth and making profit and reaching some normative standard of reproductive maturity. Okay? And I know there are many other versions of success, but that's one that this society cleaves to. Money and family, right? And if you think about those things critically, you might begin to see what the territory of failure looks like. At a time when banks are failing, at a time when it doesn't seem such a good idea to only be focused on profits, and at a time when there are millions of variations on the term family, failure and success begin to lose their meaning in relationship to one another. And the category of what we have called failure becomes actually pretty expansive. So what you're going to hear me do is advocate for failure in all kinds of ways and for all kinds of reasons. I'm going to give you like a lot of different reasons for advocating for failure. So in the book I ask, what kinds of rewards can failure offer us? Well, one thing that it can do is relieve us of that burden of always being on the straight and narrow, trying to make money, trying to succeed according to what our parents or teachers or bosses wanted us to do, and coming up with other standards for ourselves, success